Adam Rosen, welcome to the show, brother.
And I appreciate you having me, man.
Well, dude, I wish I could trade places with you right now, man. Last week you're in Italy. This week you're in Germany, globetrotting all around the world. And obviously that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, at least now in 2024, I always talk about how I don't think there's a better time to be an entrepreneur. And yeah, it's one of the definitely one of the gifts that I feel like most of us have in our businesses is the opportunity to travel and still run our businesses.
Why do you think 2024 is no better time to be an entrepreneur than now?
Well, at least when it comes to like working remote and working from anywhere, whether it's your home office, the office in general, or traveling the world like I do, because I bop from place to place, as we were talking about, is almost every single call I get on, the other person I'm speaking with is in their home office. So rarely at this point is anybody working from their actual office. So it gives us the freedom where we can actually live the life that so many of us want to draw up for ourselves. Where in the past, like, shoot, even 5 or 10 years ago, the lifestyle that I'm living was very difficult if you wanted to run a really successful business, because so much of our day to day was in-person meetings or in the office, where now more than ever, we can have meetings from wherever in the world, where as long as you're able to have good Wi-Fi and you're able to stay consistent and stay focused and stay disciplined, depending on what time zone you're in, I think it's as good of a time as ever to be an entrepreneur and to grow your business from wherever you want in the world.
Well, you have really created such an awesome kind of nomadic lifestyle business and have played in the world of, online spaces, email, sales, newsletters. That has kind of been the foundation for your business. And obviously a lot of those pillars tie into pretty much every business, or should tie into every business nowadays in, 2024. Tell us a little bit more about what your business and your world looks like, and kind of how you got into the spaces that you play in.
So even just coming out of college, I didn't go into the corporate world. My first gig was just starting my first company. So like I always talk about how I was a 22-year-old, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed entrepreneur who had no idea what was to come. And that was for the best, because like I always talk about, if any entrepreneur knew what was going to come, 99.999% of us would say, screw it, let's just do something else. But anyway, I had a tech startup for about 5 years. I sold that company back in 2019. And there was a million things we did wrong with that startup. But the one thing we always did a good job of was getting some of the biggest brands in the world. Think like Bank of America, Amazon, Apple, Goldman Sachs, all these big brands as customers. And how we got just about all of them was through cold email outreach. So when I sold the company, I started to do a lot of work with different startups. And as probably everyone can relate to that's listening to this podcast now, we all know how important top of the funnel is really for any company, but especially when we're not Apple or Goldman or Facebook, who just has the leads coming to them. So anyway, just one of the startups I was advising just said to me, hey, man, we're struggling to get meetings on the books. Can you help? And that was back in 2021. And now we're 3 years in of just helping companies get more opportunities through cold email.
So let's talk about that, because I think obviously email is a world that, in an ecosystem that everybody understands. What are some of the common mistakes that you see most businesses or business entrepreneurs, making when it comes to either overlooking or the things that they're doing that maybe they shouldn't be?
Lack of respect for the art that goes into cold email and just email in general. Like so many of us think because, hey, we all use email every day. I know how to use this. How complicated could it be? But just like with any marketing medium, or just like with anything in life, if we don't take it seriously, if we try to cut corners, we're not going to get the results from it. So for example, now in June of 2024, as we're recording this today, the cold email world has changed so much just in the last 9 or 10 months, where things that we used to be able to get away with a year ago, we no longer can get away with now. So basics, and I'm always happy, Matt, to get as nerdy as you like here, but just some high level basics to show how different cold email is today. Like a year ago, when we would work with our customers to get sales meetings booked on their calendar, we would create one domain that we would send from, because you should never mass email from your main domain. And then we would create about 2 or 3 email accounts that we would be sending from. And that was okay. You could get away with that. At times, sending 1,000 or a few thousand emails per inbox every single day. And that was okay, as long as you did everything else right. Now, when we work with our full service customers, we're creating anywhere from 20 domains on the low end to 100 domains on the higher end.
Wow.
We're creating sometimes a few hundred email accounts that we have to send from. We're only sending 20 emails for every inbox per day. We're doing things like spin tax, which basically randomizes every email that gets sent out so that Google and Yahoo and other providers don't think that this is a mass email. So they let you into the inbox versus into spam. So there are so many little things like that where if you just don't do A through Z correctly, you're not going to get results. So you really have to respect the art of email, because if not, it's just getting too complex.
Now, talk a little bit more about who does this cold email outreach strategy really apply to, right? I'm sure people are wondering, well, my business sells this, this doesn't apply to me. Or, we only specialize in these services, this doesn't apply to us. Like, talk a little bit more about the psychology of cold email outreach, who should be applying this and how they should be thinking about integrating something like this as a strategy into their business. And how important is it, I guess?
If you can get an email list for your potential prospects, you should be leveraging email. Like, I've done a lot of different advertising in the past. I've done a lot of Facebook ads, Google ads, I've done radio ads, Spotify ads, you name it. I've done all different types of advertising. For me, there's no more, and I'm obviously biased, but there's no more effective and efficient way to get leads with your prospective buyers. Now, cold email is especially helpful for companies in the B2B space, primarily because B2B tends to send a higher dollar value product offering, but most importantly, because B2B, you can typically get contacts for. So if you're selling into sales or into companies that have 1,000 or more employees, and you want to reach out to folks in the sales department and you want to get to directors and above, it's very easy to get lists for those people. And then you can reach out to them and get very pinpoint in your outreach to those folks. But we also worked with a faith-based movie with Gloria Gaynor starring the I Will Survive woman, selling into pastors and priests at churches. We work with different real estate companies, from one of the largest land developers in the country to Airbnb rental properties. So as long as you can get an email list, cold email is just another way to connect person A to person B. And again, from my experience, there's no more effective, but also cost-effective way to market as long as you can get the contact information for your prospects.
So talk a little bit about like how you formulate the strategies behind this. And I'm thinking just from my own selfish perspective, right? I own commercial, shopping centers and, different commercial real estate assets and hotels and things along those lines. And, one of the things we always try and do is we try and gather data of sellers that we think are going to sell, or we're trying to, go to national and regional tenants and get in contact with their corporate of real estate to showcase, our spaces that they may want to rent up. And obviously that's a value add for us as an owner to acquire an asset or to backfill a space and generate more income for the assets. Like, how strategically from that lens would someone like myself go about thinking on how to leverage and implement cold email outreach, to drive and grow my business in that capacity?
At first, we have to understand who is our ideal customer. So who's your ICP? And understanding who they are is most important, because if you figure out who they are, then you can figure out how to get their contact information. So that's number one. Number two, then what's in it for them, right? What's the problem that they want solved? How are you a solution to that problem? So that is, how do you frame your messaging to get their attention and make it so that they want to interact with you? I've seen studies that say as much as we get 120 emails a day and we ignore about 110 of them. So it's really difficult to get through. However, I see it every single day, how as long as you understand your ICP, who your ideal customer is, and you frame a message to them in the right way, you can and should be able to get a meeting with them. But for someone like you, I would just be figuring out, okay, who do you want to speak with? Is it properties on the market? Is it properties that are off the market? And then what's an email that can resonate with them to try to get a conversation? And for you, you're looking to buy properties. You're a profit center for them. So that always makes it a lot easier to generate meetings for as well. You're looking to pay them for an asset, and that usually helps to get a meeting booked.
I love it. Thinking about how getting access to data has just become something that's so important and critical. Like, what should business owners be thinking about when it comes to building a database, nurturing a community? Obviously the newsletter world has been kind of a hot buzzword over the course of the last few years. Like, talk about how important collecting and nurturing and growing a database and gathering emails is for a business, a brand, and obviously, as a byproduct, turning those into sales.
Data is everything, as we all know now. In 2024, we know how important and how valuable data is. And for us, if we have that data, that represents a prospect and opportunity to hopefully, find a way to do business. Now, there's two main ways, just to break it down in simple terms, where we can get prospects' attention. One of which is the warm way, through newsletters. And I know that I have a newsletter, like I was telling you, that had 5,000 subscribers on it back in January when I bought it. Now we've built it to over 200,000 subscribers. And the key for us is always increase the engagement rate. But those are warm folks. Those are people that opted in, know the brand, and are expecting your emails daily, weekly, monthly, whatever that might be. But then there's cold outreach, which is a lot of what we do for our customers, where we're buying lists or we're scraping lists of relevant prospects with the goal of reaching out to try to schedule a meeting with them. But what we're all looking for as marketers is attention. And how, again, do we get our potential, or how do we get our prospects to take the action we want them to take, which typically for me and for my customers is, a 15-minute call, a 30-minute call booked on their calendar. But for other people, it could be driving them to a funnel. It could be driving them to a website. It could be driving them to a landing page. It could be driving them to take whatever action you want them to take, signing up for a webinar. But a lot of times for us, the highest value action we want our prospects to take is booking, a 15-minute call.
Yeah, that makes sense. So before we move on from cold outreach and kind of emails, because I really want to tap into this newsletter, like you just glossed over very quickly, but going from 5,000 subscriber newsletter to 200,000 in just, a handful of months is amazing. And I want to hear kind of the case study and what you guys are doing there and, get into some of the logistics on that. But what are some of the other, key components and I guess importances of cold email outreach and how people should be thinking about using this in their business that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah, the key is, number one, it starts with the infrastructure. And what I mean by the infrastructure is some stuff that I mentioned earlier, like creating domains that you send from, creating 3 emails for every single domain, setting up the DNS records properly. 80% of our domains are not set up properly. And what that means is like the DKM, the SPF, the DMARC. These are basically it's like your registration sticker on your car. If you don't have that stuff set up right, you're going to get pulled over, by the Googles and the Yahoos of the world that say, hey, this doesn't look legit. Let's throw it into spam.
Yep.
So that's number one, is you have to set up your infrastructure properly. Then once you set up your infrastructure, then we could do some of the more enjoyable stuff, like figuring out who's your ICP and then getting a list for that ICP. So getting a list for your potential prospects. Then it's writing high quality copy, of course. Now, we always recommend, don't put links in that initial email. Don't put GIFs. Don't put any images. Remove all that stuff from your emails. Make it a plain text email. The main reason why is because all of those things will trigger you going into spam. So plain text emails. Now it's like, what type of emails convert best? Our simple structure that anyone could follow is, number one, just short and sweet. But number two, things like, what's the purpose of your email? What's the problem you solve? What's your solution? What's your social proof? What's your call to action? All basically one sentence on its own line, easy to read. Follow-ups. It takes about 3.5 emails to get one meeting booked. So you got to follow up, but you got to follow up right. Doesn't mean you have to recreate the wheel here. It could be a simple follow-up, 2 to 3 sentences just saying, hey, following up, reaching out about this, or if you're interested, let's talk. If you're not, please let me know. I'll stop following up with you. Basic stuff like that. A really simple hack that anyone here can use. We've fed over 20,000 dogs dog food. So what's really important, the reason why I bring that up is because one of the most important parts of cold email is, of course, getting meetings, but almost as important is getting replies. Now, why are replies so important? Replies increase or improve, I should say, your email health. When your email health is bad, you go into spam. When your email health is good, you go into the inbox. That famous saying, you can't hit what you can't see. If you don't get into the inbox, you don't even stand a chance. So we always want to incentivize replies. So one of the things that we do is, in almost all of our emails, we put a simple PS. Hey, please, just if you reply to this email, we're going to feed 5 bowls of dog food to a dog, to a shelter dog. Why? Because replies help our email deliverability health, and people love it. over the last 3 or 4 months since we started implementing it, our replies have skyrocketed, which helps our email deliverability health, which then helps us get more meetings booked for our clients because more people are getting our emails in our inbox. And also, of course, the win, I don't know a single person that doesn't like dogs. We get to feed a bunch of dogs, and it's a simple, easy thing to do. So anyone listening to this, please feel free to steal that. The more dogs that get fed, the better. So
Cool.
basic stuff like that is just simple stuff to set up your infrastructure to make sure that you can get results through cold email.
What have been some of your favorite kind of case studies or clients, and what's their industry and space? Are there some that, industries and companies, business types that perform better than others, some that are harder to break into? Like, what is kind of your guys' fastball that, like, you would say, hey, if you fall in these categories, like, you should be doing this if you're not already doing it?
Yeah. So, part of it is just how interesting is the business. And, for example, like one business we tried like hell to get meetings for. We probably never sent so many emails. We probably lost money because of how much we're investing to get results. And it just couldn't work. It was like an IT services shop. Basically, they fixed printers in a very local area of California. We did everything we could, and it didn't work well enough for everybody. So that's not an ideal fit. Our customers, some of our best customers, one of which is a small 10-person shop. It's a web development shop. The great thing about them is they have a big universe to reach out to, but they also have a really good sales process. So we've been working together for about 18, 19 months at this point, and they made over $1 million of sales just from the leads that we booked for them, the meetings that we booked for them. And, for a small business, that's a significant portion of revenue. So, those types of companies are great. We work with a lot of like B2B type companies like, a tomorrow.io. They're a high power unicorn startup based in Boston. They have a weather AI tech startup. Great universe, great process, great marketing and sales team. So they're a joy to get meetings for because they do a great job of converting, and they have a really good in-house system that works well and molds well with our teams. But we have some really great real estate customers that we love working with, like an Airbnb rental property in Naples, Florida, where we built out their cold email system. We've also built out their newsletter, where they're now the number 2, and very soon they're going to be the number 1 Airbnb rental property in Naples, Florida. And they just started, probably a year ago, 18 months ago. So again, cold email can work for anybody as long as you can get an email list. That's always the key. Some companies don't have a big email list to reach out to, or it's really difficult to get emails. But as long as you have a list you can get, cold email can and should work for anybody.
When you say a list you can get, right? Like, I know where I can find a list of property owners that have a certain criteria that are off market that I can skip trace and kind of get all their information. What does that mean to you, I guess, or to other business owners? Should that mean to them on like how to get a list and where to start with, cold email?
Most companies can get a simple list, like a tool I love. I'm not affiliated with them, but I just love the tool. Is a tool called instantly.ai. There's other tools like an Apollo out there. These are tools that you can get high quality lists for. They're easy to generate, and they're very inexpensive. Like in the old days of list building, to get a standard list, you would go to like a Zoom Info. And there's people that would pay like $1 or more per contact through a Zoom Info of the world. Yeah. And I'm not poo-pooing on Zoom Info. They got a great business. They do great things. But I struggle to see how a business like that can stay ahead of the curve as time goes on, because there's tools like Instantly where you can get great lists for, I'm talking 2, 3, 4 cents a contact. And these are high quality lists. So most people, a simple starting point is like even checking out an instantly.ai or an Apollo, because if you can get your list through there, you can get high quality lists very easily and for pennies on the dollar of what you used to have to spend, back in the old days in 2023.
Yeah, that's great that you brought that up, because obviously AI is just changing the game in so many ways. And, finding good quality resources from proven, referral sources is really important. Just curious from your perspective, like if there was 1 or 2 companies or business industries that you would love to see, work with your company, who, if you could pick any one of those, which ones come to mind for you?
That's a great question. Industries or companies specifically?
Let's do both.
So for me, and this is going to be a little bit of a cop, and I just don't have a great answer for you here. So industries I'm pretty agnostic about. Like
Yeah.
honestly, I really it doesn't have to be tech or real estate. I'm pretty agnostic about that. But for me, like my sweet spot is companies that are 2 to 500 person companies. Too big just could be a little bit too much red tape. I'm very entrepreneurial. My team is very entrepreneurial. Dealing with like the red tape of a Fortune 1000 would be a challenge I would welcome, but it's not exactly the ideal fit for us because we like to move fast and learn, pivot pretty quickly.
Yep.
So probably a company 2 to 500 employees, a company that has a proven sales process, a company that has at least a marketing team in place, and a team that has a big universe that we can tap into. Those are really just our ideal customers. But for me, I'm pretty agnostic on the industry. And I wouldn't say there's like one company that, and maybe I should have this, I should probably think about this more, Matt. But I wouldn't say there's like one dream company that I'm like, I need to work with them. Okay. I think all of our customers, when you work with us, you're my dream company to work with. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good answer. That's a good PC answer right there. All right. So let's shift over to, how you acquired this 5,000 subscriber newsletter. I know you're living this nomadic lifestyle yourself as you run your business and your company. What was it that, hey, I'm gonna take, some of my energy and attention and resources outside of my business. I'm gonna take on this newsletter and I'm gonna scale it. What was the intention behind it? How'd you find it? Audit whether it was a right fit for you, and maybe we can dig in a little bit more on what the process and the journey has been to get into 200,000 newsletter subscribers. That's big.
Thank you. Yeah. So first, I want to say I'm living that digital nomad life and now have been since November of 2021. But this is the complete opposite lifestyle to how I was during my first tech startup. Like I was the complete opposite of this. I was 5 years of nonstop in the office. Every ounce of me thought the only way to build a successful company was you had to live in the office. And I don't say this to brag or anything because it's not even it's nothing necessarily even to be proud of. But it was a Monday through Saturday in the office every day at 6 a.m. I would leave often 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. On Sundays, I would go in a little bit later, 9 a.m., leave around 6, 7 p.m. I never got to watch, football on Sundays. It was just always in the office. So it was the opposite of the type of life I thought I would live. So I want to preface that for anybody who wants to travel the world, but isn't currently doing it now. So anyway, I started this company about 3 years ago, back in summer of 2021. And since November of 2021, I've been traveling full time to different parts of the world. And so is my business partner. And we spent about half the year traveling together. And one thing that I hear a lot from people is, how do you do it? How do you travel the world while building your business? And then how could I do that for myself too?
Yeah.
So we've wanted to share more of how people can, have their cake and eat it too. How can you travel the world, but not have to sacrifice your professional growth, which is so important to me? So we stumbled across this newsletter, the nomadcloud.com, the end of last year, the end of 2023. We really liked the content. We reached out to the former owner, and we negotiated to buy the newsletter from him. We purchased it in early January of 2024, so this year. And like I said, I had about 5,000 subscribers on it. It had really good content, but not the best engagement. And we thought we could take it to a whole nother level. And we've been excited about growing a lot. And we think it's still just the beginning. We're learning this business as we go. We're not spending, 100% of our time or even half of our time into it. It's very much a part-time thing for us. But the best thing about it is not even the 200,000 subscribers. It's not that we're starting to make a little bit of revenue from it. It's now we're doing this for our main business, for email outreach company. Now we're doing this for some of our customers there. So there was kind of our inside track to learn about newsletters. I would have a lot of business owners tell me they want to do newsletters. Can you help me with it? And I always had ideas of how a newsletter could go, but I had no idea really how to do it. I never really had a newsletter.
Yeah.
So the best part about it is because we made the investment to buy this newsletter, it forced us to learn about this new world. And now we're able to add value to our customers. And now we see this whole new opportunity for my main business for newsletters based on making this purchase, 4 or 5 months ago.
Dude, that's so cool. Yeah. I mean, it feels super kind of aligned with, your business of what you're already doing, exercising one of your guys' superpowers, which is outreach. It's engaging new customers, right? and then obviously pulling them into your ecosystem and just warming them up, continuing to build that rapport, that trust. And then I'm going to be very excited. What's your guys's kind of financial goals or model that you guys are working towards? And just to give a little spotlight of like how profitable, I've got some great friends that have massive newsletters. And these things can become freaking money printing machines if you do it right. You understand all the dots to connect. And again, it ties in with your brand, right? Which is what you're doing, living this nomadic, online lifestyle. This is a great way to build a community, bring value to people at scale, and make some money at scale as well.
Yeah. So I'll give real numbers even for this because I think it's so interesting. I kind of geek out with stuff like this. So when we bought it, we really basically bought it with no revenue. They had a few sponsors, but basically nothing. So we had no active sponsors when we bought it. Our goal has always been, let's get to 3K a month of recurring revenue from it, and then let's build from there. And how can we monetize our community? So this past month we got close. I think we hit like 27 or 2,800 per month from sponsors. We hit our new high watermark of a sponsor paying per newsletter, which is $1,000. So that was like our new high watermark. We have a lot of people tell us that, hey, you're charging too little on your newsletter. For me, you're probably right, but I'm always like, it's always so easy to say that. Like, I'd rather just have way too many people that want to pay us $1,000 per newsletter. Then great, I'll increase the price.
Yeah.
So that's the first key is we want to officially cross that like 3K and make it like true recurring, not just like one-off purchases.
Yep.
So that's the first check mark that we want to get through. And then we want to learn about how we can help monetize the community. Like we've been doing a lot of market development on our community over the past 6 weeks or so, setting up phone calls and trying new things. Like, hey, would you guys pay $500 a month for a mastermind with like the top tier travelers? Or would you rather pay 10 to $20 a month for this basic value that you can get from our community?
Yeah.
So we're kind of figuring that out now because look, with 200,000 people, if you could get 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 people to even pay $10 a month, that could be a real moneymaker.
Totally.
So we're still figuring out the game. We're sales and market. We're sales lovers. So that's like a problem that we like solving. But we're still very far away, and we think there's a big opportunity with it. But we still haven't even crossed the $3,000 a month mark yet. So we're still like in the baby stages of it.
So what is that? What's kind of your content cadence and who's creating that content, and kind of what does the team look like? Obviously, people love to see kind of behind the curtain, understand like, is this for me or not? Right? Some people make it just look so easy, and sometimes there's some pretty big teams behind these massive newsletters, but they're generating millions of dollars a year, kind of thing. So what does that look like for you guys, and what are you guys kind of working towards on that front?
I'm a big believer in products dragging you. Like even when I started email outreach company, the first 9 months, we just kept our first 3 customers because we wanted the product to drag us where they're like, no, we love this stuff. And now let's run. So the reason why I bring that up is very similar with the newsletter. Like I'm not willing to give it a ton of time until it proves that it's worth my time.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's just me. It's my co-founder of my email outreach company. He's been my business partner for the past 10 years. He writes all of our content, all of our copy. And then my sister, who's our head of customer success for my email business, she bought the newsletter with us. And she also helps with partnerships, but she's really running the community side, learning about what the community wants. Nice. So we can build a product for them. We do, though, have the benefit of my email outreach company team. They will help. Like we run a lot of email campaigns to get me on meetings with potential advertisers. So they do help out a little bit with some more of the administrative work.
Yep.
But it's really 3 of us that are doing the majority of it. But we're probably only putting in, I don't know, 5 to 10 hours a week each into Nomad class. We're not putting a ton of time into it yet.
Nice. Now, what are you guys sending out blogs? Are you guys driving people to the website, or are you just trying to give them value in the email stream, or like what does kind of that content look like? And obviously, jumping from 5 to 200,000, like how are you acquiring these people and pulling them into your world? I know that's something that people always kind of seem to struggle with. Is it a lead magnet? Is it just a call to action on a FaceTime Live? What does that look like for you guys? And maybe what have you guys seen work so well for you guys?
Yeah. So we do a weekly cadence. So every Monday, we'll do a weekly email or a weekly newsletter email. We will do a dedicated email for brands that pay for it. So like our top sponsorship tier is basically it's your own email where we just push them to whatever you want to promote. So we'll do that once a week, every so often. And then the main way we've been able to get customers, we've tried a lot of different marketing, but the best marketing for us is kind of going even back to our roots of like, there's a way to like scrape contacts off of like Instagram that have keywords in there. So we'll find people that say digital nomad, and then we'll reach out to them and say, hey, do you want to subscribe to our newsletter about digital nomads?
Nice.
So, and then, when they subscribe, we'll get them content. And then for us, the key thing we're always doing though, we're always scrubbing. Like what's most important to us is not even the number of subscribers. Anyone can get a lot of subscribers.
Right.
What's more important to us is good engagement rates. So like every 3 weeks or so, if you don't open an email in 3 weeks, we cut you from the newsletter. So like we're very strict about, we want to have high engagement. We want to obviously grow our subscribers, but what's most important is having strong engagement.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And then in terms of curation, what you guys are sending out each and every week, if somebody wanted to join the newsletter, where can they do that? What would they find on that newsletter? Like, how are you guys coming up with your content curation?
A lot of stuff that we're interested about. So we do tend to talk a lot about Italy. We spend a lot of time in Italy, but a lot of it is like places to travel, good places for digital nomads, hubs for digital nomads, how to get the most out of your work while traveling the world, updates on visas. Like Italy has this great new visa that just came out a few months ago that we'll talk about things like that. So good places to travel, things to do while you travel to these different hubs. And then we have a number of community partners too. Basically, it's subscribers of ours that are hosting retreats or do online breath work and Pilates and yoga sessions for our community. So we'll also promote stuff like that too, to try to bring some of the community together.
That's awesome, man. And where can people join the newsletter if they want to know more?
thenomadcloud.com.
Cool. Well, we'll be sure to link that up. And obviously, your company provides some amazing, cold email outreach services. So if people want to know more about that or want to link up with you or your team, what's the best place for them to do that as well?
Go to our website, eocworks.com. And then you can always email me at just adam@eocworks.com. If you have any cold email or just email related questions in general, don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm always happy to answer any questions for you.
We'll be sure to provide all of that information at millionaireMycast.com on Adam's episode. Be sure to check that out, guys. Adam, I'm planning a little family vacay with my wife and my 3 daughters here in the next year or two. And Italy is top of the list, so I'm probably going to be hitting you up, brother.
Do it, man. You can never go wrong by staying in Italy. And when you come this way, hopefully I'll be in Italy too. Maybe we can sync up for a nice espresso or a spritz or a nice bottle of wine.
I was going to say, I'm probably going to, I'll definitely go with the first 2, but we'll probably have to, crack open a few nice bottles of wine as well.
Yeah, I've heard Italy has some pretty good wine. So
thanks for coming on the show, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Matt. I appreciate it. I love the work that you do, and looking forward to staying in touch.